Tēnā koutou, really lovely to be touching base with all of you wonderful people. We've had a really lovely morning in our bubble. We took the girls out for a walk. They're really loving all the autumn leaves and running through big piles of them with the crunching sounds. So that's been really lovely to do this morning. For this pastoral video, we wanted to focus on our thoughts and reflections around connectedness and discipleship as we've transitioned into level 3. We've been really blessed and encouraged by how we have been able to stay connected during the last 4 weeks with the great work of our group of 30 people that have been calling people around the parish. So hopefully you've received a few phone calls. And also just the blessing of the live stream service. That's been amazing that so many of you have been able to tune into that. And then just also with our pastoral videos and letters and some of the daily reflections on our Facebook page. We hope that you have somewhat felt connected during these last 4 weeks. We've really loved our time in our bubble. We've been blessed that we have quite a few people living with us, but we recognise just in the last few weeks, Caleb and I have had a few meetings on something that's called Zoom, which is an online service that helps you have meetings and see people's faces and do meetings online. And we had a vestry meeting. We had a handover meeting with Stuart last week. We also had a congregational leaders meeting at the end of last week, and we were just blown away by how much joy we felt seeing all these people's faces and actually talking to them in the present moment, and just were reminded of actually how much we miss connecting with our church family. And so that just sort of spiraled off some thoughts around what we need to be encouraging and helping figure out, recognising we're going to be in lockdown for quite a bit longer, how we're going to stay more connected to each other in present moments. And just as part of our thinking, we were struck by Anna Fletcher's one of her videos that she put on our Facebook page recently, a devotional, and she was sharing how yes, it's amazing that we've got all of these live stream videos and these ways of connecting on the internet, but there is the danger that as we sit there in front of our TVs or our computers, that we can just be observers and consumers of this worship and not actually interacting with each other.
Yeah, Billy and I spent some time thinking around that and thinking about how the New Testament operated in the same way. The early church that we see in the New Testament weren't in an epidemic that caused them to be in the way they were, but because of the Roman Empire, they weren't able to gather in large gatherings, so they had to meet in houses. We've sort of thought around that for a little bit, and we also thought about the fact that there's 62 times in the New Testament the word saints is used, and one time the word saint is used. When that word saint is used, it's in Philippians 4:21, and it says, "Greet every saint in Christ Jesus. All of my friends around me welcome you, and all the saints welcome you." That's what it says in Philippians 4:21. It's the only occasion where there's a reference to a saint being an individual, and it's in the environment of every saint being included. There is no concept in the New Testament of individual saints. It's only us as us being gathered together. In fact, the word church itself is the word means gathering, means meeting, means to be one with one another. Paul talks about this again in Philippians. He says, "Be of one mind." In fact, John picks up this in his epistle where he says, "If we walk in the light, we have fellowship together, and Jesus purifies us from all our sin." There's something there about us being together. Jesus prays in the upper room. He says, "Father, may they be one as we are one." There's this thing about us being united, this thing about us being one together. In fact, Jesus describes in Matthew 18, he says, "When 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, then I am there with them." There's this uniting. There's this thing about us being gathered. The writer of the Hebrews says, don't give up gathering together as some have done. And so we've been thinking about this kind of thing of gathering. If our DNA of who we are means to be people who are gathered, well, we're not able to gather at this moment in time. And we haven't been able to gather in lockdown level 4. We're not able to gather in lockdown level 3. And actually, we're also not likely to be able to gather in lockdown level 2. Reason being is that we don't have enough space in our churches to carry out social distancing and to gather with people who are under 70 and to have limited size gatherings. And therefore, we're likely for a few more months to be in a situation where we can't gather in person. And so we've come up with a way to gather in smaller groups like the early church did. And Billy's going to speak a little bit about that now.
Yeah, so we're going to be launching house churches on the 10th of what month are we in? May. 10th of May, which is in just under 2 weeks. And we're going to be doing this initially, recognising we can't be gathering in each other's homes just yet. We're going to be doing this via the platform of a program on the internet called Zoom. And this will allow us to gather on a weekly basis and to be present to each other via our computer screens, to be able to talk in person about a topic for discussion and for us to do church together.
So we're going to run this for 7 weeks. The community, the 5 p.m. community at St. Peter's, have been running this for 4 weeks already. They've had a go at it, and actually Paul and Anna Fletcher have provided us with a lot of resources that we're going to be using in our settings. And it's been going really well there. There's a couple other parishes across our diocese who've also been doing the same thing. And their feedback was that they thought it was going to be really awkward. It was a little bit awkward when they started, but they're now loving it, and people are really looking forward to gathering together. They're really enjoying this connection, this sharing of worship, and the sharing of study together. So the way that we're going to operate that is that if you're already part of a small group, then we're encouraging small groups to use this same material and to meet in the normal time that you do as a small group. If you're in a home group, small group, then you'll do that. If you're not part of one, then we're setting up some new house churches. And the way that we're rolling that out is that if you would like to be part of this, then send an email to the parish email address, and Annette is going to coordinate who we're going to be with. We've been training up some leaders, some of whom have never used Zoom before or anything like that. We're giving them lots of opportunities to train, giving them tutorials. We've put together some real simple resources that work well. And all of our leaders are really up for it, which is great and exciting. We're really looking forward to this chance to meet in this way. It's going to be different for us for a short season, but for these 7 weeks we're rolling out a thing together where we can gather, where we can be what we're supposed to be, where we can worship as one, where we can care for each other and support each other in our discipleship to Jesus.
So yeah, we'd really encourage you to jump on board with this, and we think that going deeper with each other in this time will really enhance our life even more as a community of faith when we do finally come out of this lockdown. We're going to end there, but Caleb and I would like to close with a really beautiful blessing about us and our formation into Christ-likeness even in the tough times. Jesus, draw